Good morning, seventh graders. My voice is still pretty iffy today. It's a little better than yesterday, so bear with me through the video. Some of it might make more sense as you see it written on the screen when they have actually listening to me talk. So I apologize. So first, take out your bell ringer, and I want you to actually do this problem. I think it'd be good practice from yesterday. So find the mean, median, mode, and range of all the numbers like we did yesterday, and then cross out the outlier and do it again, and then draw your arrows over here. So pause the video until you're done with that, and then press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my calculator here. All right. So mean would be 27 plus 24 plus 5 plus 27 plus 26. And then we divide by 5. The median, we'd reorder these, so 5, 24, 26, 27, 27. And we'd find the middle number, which would be 26. The mode would be 27 because we see 2 of those. And the range would be 27 minus 5, which would be 22. Then I'm going to cross my outlier. Remember, the outlier is the number that doesn't really belong. So my outlier would be a 5. So now my mean would be 27. Plus 24, 27, 26. And divide that by now 4. And my mean is now 26. Reorder these for my median. I have 2 middle numbers, so I need to add those together and divide by 2. Oh, really? Okay. I can do the rest of this without a calculator. So 26 plus 27 divided by 2 is 26.5. The mode would still be 27. My range would now be 27 minus 24, which would be 3. So then my arrows would go up, up, nothing, down. Okay, now you can take out your notebook and open up your notes so you can get ready for today's lesson. So go ahead and copy all this down, pause it until you're ready to go, and then press play. I really do sound better than yesterday, but it's still pretty bad. So, okay. So today we're talking about simple events. We're making a shift from statistics to probability. So an outcome is any possible thing that could occur. So any possible event that could happen. So, for example, let's say you're flipping a coin. We know when you flip a coin, your choices are either going to be heads or tails. So those are the outcomes, heads, tails. Okay. If you were to roll a die, your outcomes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's just any possible event that could happen out of what you're doing. And then a simple event is the outcome actually occurring. So if you would flip a coin and it would land on heads, that's a simple event. If you would flip it again and it would land on tails, that's a simple event. And then finally, probability is the likelihood of the simple event. So what's the likelihood that you'll flip a heads? What's the likelihood that you'll flip a tails when you have a coin? So that's what probability is, and that's your focus for today. You can do probability with percents, with decimals, with fractions. Our focus will be on fractions. If you're not ready to move on, you can press pause. Otherwise, keep watching. So I'm going to show you how you're going to write out the probabilities for your worksheet today. So this is what's the probability of rolling a 5 on a 6-sided die. So my outcomes on a 6-sided die would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? Those are all my possibilities. So the probability of you rolling a 5, I would say, well, there are 6 possible outcomes. So my denominator is a 6. And there is wondering what's ruling a 5. Well, so I look at my outcomes and see how many 5s are there. Well, there was 1 5, so my probability is 1 out of 6. And that's your answer. It's just a fraction today. Okay, let's look at these. So this is another die. So I'm going to write out my possible outcomes just so I can visualize them. When it says P and then something like this, it's saying probability of that happening. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry about that. So it's saying what's the probability of a 3? What's the probability of an even number? What's the probability of an odd number? Okay, so all your denominators for all of these will be a 6 because there are 6 possible outcomes on that die. If it was a 12-sided die, you'd have 12 on the bottom. And then your numerator is how many there are of that thing, of the outcomes. So if it says probability of a 3, there is 1 3, so it's 1 out of 6. Probability of evens, I would look and see how many even numbers there are. So even numbers would be 2, 4, and 6. So I'd say 3 over 6. And if you can reduce, you should. So you'd get 1 over 2. And then odd numbers, my odd numbers would be 1, 3, and 5. So again, I have 1, 2, 3 of them. So 3 out of 6, which again would give me 1 half. Okay, here's another example. So I first figure out what my denominator is going to be, and that denominator is based on how many possible outcomes there are. So I notice that there's 10 numbers on the spinner, so my denominator is a 10. So I look and I say, okay, how many 5s are on there? Because that's what it's asking me for first. And there's 1 5, so 1 out of 10. I then look for even numbers. So I'd say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Which means I have 5 of them, so 5 out of 10, which would be 1 out of 2. And then finally, prime numbers. So if you remember, prime numbers are numbers that can only be divided by 1 in itself. Okay, so 1 is not considered a prime number, okay? It's its own special kind of number, but 2 would work, 3, 5, 7 would be our prime numbers, right? 4 doesn't work because it can be divided by 2. 6 can be divided by 2 and 3. 8 can be divided by 2 and 4. 9 can be divided by 3. And 10 can be divided by 2 and 5. So I have 4 prime numbers. So if I divide by 2, I get 2 out of 5. Okay, go through one more example here. So this one, I want you to try on your own. It says you have a bag of 20 M&Ms. So it means that 20 is your denominator, okay? And then this is telling you how many there are of each color in the bag. So go ahead and try to figure out these 3. Pause the video until you're ready, and then press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, so red, there are 4 red, so I do 4 over 20. And then I can reduce those by dividing by 4, so I'd get 1 over 5. Green or blue means that I look and see how many green and blue that there could be. So there's 1 green, there are 6 blue, so 1 plus 6 is 7. And I can't reduce that. And then my last one says not yellow. So I'm looking for any color that isn't yellow. So I don't want yellow, so I'd have 4, 2, 1, 6, and 2, which gives me 15. So 15 out of 20 reduces to 3 out of 4 because you can divide by 5. All right, so today's worksheet is a 9.1 symbol events worksheet. The sub will hand that out to you. I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. But then there's other reminders. iExcel is due Sunday. Those of you that aren't done with iExcel, I posted your name on Google Classroom. So that should be your next job after this worksheet is to do that. If you need help, either ask Mrs. Fessler, she's in the room, or ask a classmate that's already done, but you need to ask them quietly and not be a distraction. If you have a Chapter 10 retake packet, you can work on that next, and then your next quiz in a couple weeks yet. So let me show you your worksheet. So on your worksheet, there are 4 different scenarios. So I'm just going to go through the denominator part with you. So this one says, it's talking about names. So first I'd see how many names there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it means all your denominators for this problem will be a 10, okay, etc. And then you just write out how many there are for their numerator. So for example, 3-letter name, I'd see how many 3-letter names there are. So Bob is a 3-letter name and Joe is a 3-letter name. So I'd say 2 out of 10 and I'd reduce to 1/5. Okay. On the next part, you have all these cards. So I count and see how many cards there are. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I put 12 as my numerator for all of these. The next one, it says the marbles is the bag of 24. So that means my denominator is 24. Okay, so for all of those. And my last one, it says there's a spinner numbered 1 through 8. So I see there's 8 spots on the spinner. So my denominator would be an 8. Okay, if you need any help, please either ask the sub or ask Mrs. Fesser if you're in first hour, or you can ask a classmate, or you can send me an email and I'll try to get back to you. Have a good weekend, and hopefully I'm sounding much better for Monday.